Hello YouTube, what's good? In today's episode, my epic failure trying to shoot this little fella Liubitel 166. I had no focus issue, I overbulked film, I had transportation issues, but all of this was completely my fault, so come along and see what went wrong and what lessons have I learned. The initial idea was to use the camera because it's 6x6. I decided to put inside a 35mm film, and in that case I was going to expose the sprockets, and as well I was going to get kind of panoramic frames because the 35mm film was going to take the middle portion of the 6x6 frame, and then I was planning to use this as a panoramic mode shots. The first problem that I got with this camera is when I tried to clean the lens because it was jamming a lot. So I was able to clean it to the point that I got all the speeds correct. So I have proper exposure now. But if I'm shooting at aperture lower than 8, it jams again. Aperture 8 for a medium format is a good aperture because of the depth of field. So I was okay with this. I was shooting at 8, 11, 16 and 22. The problem was that during the cleaning and the repairing of the speeds, I misaligned the bottom lens, and I thought that I'm making a focus because I was looking through the upper lens, which is the focus lens. And when I got back from shooting, it turns out that I don't have focus on any of the frames. So this happens. Anyway, I went to the location, and I woke up early in the morning at about 4 o'clock, and I was rushing to get the sunrise because I was thinking there will be some very beautiful lighting in the mountains, and I was going to catch a good texture of trees and mountain because of the low sunlight, making a good shapes out of the trees and peaks. But I haven't calculated the positioning of the venue, the Patulia monastery where I was going, because this is actually a venue that I was very excited to go and shoot because I had memories at this place when I was young. We were hanging out there with my friends, and it was very romantic. I got there early and the light was not good, so I was trying to find some good spots to have some interesting shots, let's say. And I was thinking that I was doing well. I didn't know at this point that I don't have focus, so I was struggling with when you hold the camera, it's left and right is switched, so when you rotate left, actually it's going right and vice versa. So this is a huge problem when you try to make a horizontal exposure using the 35mm film, which is going in this direction, because when you hold the camera, up and down is switched, and then left and right is okay, but you have a lot of problems with leveling the camera. I had a lot of problems. I was trying to squat and pick up the camera, and it was all over the place. So it was hard to even see the shot through the viewfinder. And then what happened, of course, is I was thinking I'm going to count, I'm going to be very careful, because winding the mechanism is not cocking the shutter. So you have to manually cock the shutter and then expose. So I had to remember to transport the film, wind the shutter and expose. But of course I don't know if I have triple exposures, but I have a lot of double exposures on the first film. And the other thing is that because I'm using a 35mm film, I tried at home with an old film. I made marks and I was transporting the film, so I saw that if I do 2 turns or 1 full rotation, it will transport 1 shot. But it turns out that this calculation was not exactly accurate, and for some reason the first shots, they were overlapped, so I messed up this as well. After shooting all the shots that I thought was interesting at this location, I got back to the studio and tried to finish the roll with some studio shots, just to test and to try to see how the film is reacting and how is the camera handling. For this project, I bulk rolled Kentmere 400 film, which was another failure because I overbulked the film. How this happened? I made again a calculation at home that if you make 30 rotations with a scissor in the film, it will give you 36 exposures. But in the process of putting the film in the cassettes, I felt that there is more space and I can make 36 rotations, which was good, and at the end it was a little bit squeaking, but at this point I was very happy and I thought, yeah, whatever. And then the disaster came, and it turns out that you can fit more film in the canister, but in the cassette, but what you can't do is put more film on the spiral of the developing tank. So I ended up losing film because I had to cut the tail, which was, I had more film exposed, but I had to cut it. So I developed the film, and then when I started to digitally scan to DSLR to actually it's mirrorlessly scan my films, I saw that there is no focus on the shots, and I was devastated because I was hoping to have something good. So I decided to went back the next day, but this time I was going to wait for the sunset instead of the sunrise. When the day was starting to end, I went to the location, and this time I prepared a system with a sticker which I was going to move each time that I transport the film. I was going to put the sticker on the right side, then expose, and then put the sticker back to the left side. And this was going to give me a very good indication if I've already transported the film or not. And I was writing in a small notebook. I was describing each and every shot so that I can remember how many shots did I have and where I did them. And this system failed as well. At some point I got very excited and I forgot did I switch the sticker or not, and I had double exposures as well. But the next big failure which happened was of course again the transportation, which I didn't calculate properly. I had double exposures again, And the only good thing this time is that I knew that I have overbulked the film. So I count the shots that I was able to develop the first time, and it was 20 shots. So when I was winding the mechanism and describing the shots, I knew that 20 is the max that I can do. So I did 20 exposures. And I get back to the studio and I developed the film, and again I was devastated because I had double exposures, overlapping exposure frames. And something new that I noticed is some kind of a light leak. I'm not sure if this is from the behind the camera, because here I have a window that I can check the number of the frame, which is working when you have a paper back of the medium format, which was not the case this time. But I think that just this lens is cheap, and it has some kind of coating as I'm looking at it, but I forgot to make sure that I'm shading and there is no direct sunlight, which was most of the time happening. And I had a weird white spot, which I'm not sure why was there. I will investigate this in the future. And yeah, I failed second time. So the best lesson that I've learned is that because of a lot of years shooting digital and looking at color frame, so I'm looking at the colorful world and I'm making a colorful frame, and then if I want to convert it to black and white, I convert it, but I've lost my sense of which scene is going to be good in black and white. And it turns out that I have very poor shots because I looked at something interesting and I decided, oh, this is going to look great in black and white, and it looks like a complete mess. The lines are all over the place, and you cannot take the same information and understand what is this roots of the tree or something like that. So I learned a lot from these 2 sessions with this camera, and unfortunately you're not going to see you're not seeing any now you're not seeing anything impressive as a photography, but this was my learning experience, and I have plans for this camera. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to figure out a system to put the 35mm film in paper back of medium format film. So in this case I will have proper transportation because I'll be able to check exactly the frame number and the mark on the back of the paper. And in this case I'll be sure that the light leak is not from the behind of the camera, and I'll make everything possible to shade the camera. Next time I'll bring my tripod and I'll work much slower, but I'll make sure that the camera is positioned right, that everything that I can control possibly and probably will be able to do it. But we'll see, I'll probably fail again, but I've learned that I have to be very, very careful picking my subject when shooting black and white, because when you see color, it turns out that it's a lot of information, and from time to time when you convert color to black and white, they're very close, the colors very close level of shade of the gray. So when you look at it, you know, yeah, this is red and this is pink, and they have some difference, but when you convert them to black and white, they are almost one and the same level of gray. So this was my big learning experience of trying to shoot black and white. My big experience of overbulking film, because I was very excited that I can put a lot of film in the canister, which turned out to be I was throwing away film. And yeah, shooting 2-eyed camera, looking through this lens and shooting through this one is like shooting a rangefinder. From time to time you don't see what's actually going on through the lens, which is exposing the film, but that's it. So thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. I have plans for this channel to grow and to make interesting videos, and I hope not many more failures. So now go and shoot some film.